All right, you are looking at Franklin Regional High School in Pennsylvania, about 15 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. CNN has been told that 8 students were stabbed there. There are reports that from students that someone just came into the school with a knife and started slashing people, including friends of at least one witness. We know that there are 3 medical helicopters on scene and that people have been injured enough, students have been injured enough to wind up at the regional hospital. So Forbes Regional Hospital Trauma Center is where the kids have gone. The doctor in charge there is Chris Kaufman. He's on the phone with us. Doctor, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
What do we understand?
We understand exactly what you said, that there was a multiple victim stabbing at Franklin High School. 8 of the patients came here to Forbes Hospital Trauma Center. Additional patients were either life-flighted to our sister hospital downtown or taken to another trauma center in the area. I believe there were a total of 11 that we're aware of so far, with 8 of those patients coming here.
We're told that the person who did this is in custody. What do we know about the types of injuries? How bad are these?
These are significant injuries. We had 2 patients who went immediately to the operating room, and the 3rd patient is being taken to the operating room now out of the 8 patients we have. There are additional patients getting imaging, x-rays and CAT scans and ultrasounds that may require interventions later on as we discover internal injuries in these patients. But at the present point, these patients are what we call hemodynamically stable and allow this imaging. The 2 patients that went to the operating room were not stable. They had low blood pressure and significant bleeding from their stab wounds.
Do we know what was used to do this? What was being used to stab them?
I don't, but the wounds were large, approximately 2 inches plus. So this, to me, seems like it must have been a large penetrating instrument of some type.
Do you feel that you've seen the full number of people? Are you expecting more in this situation?
I am told that we have seen the patients that we are going to see, but we're still on standby should there be additional patients coming our way.
And I know it's early, but do you have confidence that these kids are going to make it?
We hope that they do. They really have some serious injuries, and some of these patients were likely going to be hospitalized for some time getting over this assault.
All right, Doctor, I want to leave you to it. I know you have a lot of work in front of you. Thank you for taking time to fill us in. Good luck going forward. We'll check back with you.
Thanks very much. Bye now.
Very unusual that it would be a stabbing. Almost always it's a shooting. You think it would be less severe, but you're hearing these injuries are very serious. Kids are in surgery, almost a dozen of them. The doctor said 11. So this
and we don't know yet who that person was, obviously, if a student or someone else that came into the school and started all this.
The authorities say 1 is in custody, so we're going to have to pick up that part of the story and find it out. But a very urgent situation there. We do hear that the kids are being released to families, so a lot of worried parents there for sure.
We're obviously going to continue to cover that breaking news throughout the show. Let's take another break, though. Also coming up on New Day, we're going to have 2 more.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hi, good morning. I'm Carol Costello. Thank you so much for joining me. We do begin with that breaking news out of Pennsylvania. 20 students have been injured in a high school stabbing in suburban Pittsburgh. It happened early this morning at Franklin Regional High School in Murraysville, Pennsylvania. That's about 15 miles east of downtown Pittsburgh. Here's what we know so far. 20 students have been injured. 20 students. Several of them had to be flown to the hospital. Investigators do tell us they have a suspect in custody. Moments ago, we spoke to a doctor who treated some of those patients. He says some students will need surgery. We're following the developments and we'll bring you more as they come into CNN. Right now, the school remains on lockdown. And as I said, we have a reporter. Dan Stevens is a PIO from Westmoreland County. He's on the phone with me right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Bring us up to date on what you know right now.
At 7:13 this morning, the school resource officer at Murraysville, or at Franklin Regional High School, called our 911 center by radio and asked for assistance. He had an incident going. When he got back on the radio, he said he had a stabbing, asked for additional law enforcement and multiple ambulances. The actor was taken into custody fairly quickly. Once it was determined who he was, we have approximately 20 students that have been injured. Of those 20 students, 4 of which have been flown by medical helicopter with what appears to be non-life-threatening injuries. Those students were transported to 4 hospitals: Allegheny General Hospital, Forbes Regional Hospital, UPMC East, and Presbyterian Hospital. The suspect is in custody, being questioned right now by the Murraysville Police Department and the Westmoreland County detectives.
Dan, can you tell me where inside the school this incident happened?
It happened in the classrooms and a hallway in the school. School was just actually coming into session. It was, again, 7:15 in the morning. We have students arriving for school. I believe their session started either 7:30 or 7:40. I don't have that information in front of me.
And it doesn't involve this suspect that's in custody. Is it a student? And does this incident involve just one suspect, just one student perhaps?
Yes, it is a student, and it involves only one individual. School has been searched twice for any additional, and some of the students in the area were immediately questioned to see if there was more than one actor involved, and currently we're reporting only one actor.
Do you know the age of the suspect?
No, I do not have that information available at this time.
Boy or girl?
It's a male.
And this male was allegedly armed with one knife?
Again, I don't have that information. I mean, we will, this is breaking. It's about 2 hours old right now, and we will have additional information as the day goes on.
These 20 students who were injured, were all of them stabbed, or were they injured in some other way?
No, they were all stab wounds, whether they be lacerations or actual puncture wounds. They were all, stabbing type wounds.
All right, Dan, I know we have some sound from a doctor who's treating those 4 students who were flown to the hospital. I want to listen to him now.
These are significant injuries. We had 2 patients who went immediately to the operating room, and the 3rd patient is being taken to the operating room now out of the 8 patients we have. There are additional patients getting imaging, x-rays and CAT scans and ultrasounds that may require interventions later on as we discover internal injuries in these patients. But at the present point, these patients are what we call hemodynamically stable and allow this imaging. The 2 patients that went to the operating room were not stable. They had low blood pressure and significant bleeding from their stab wounds.
All right, that was Dr. Chris Kaufman. He's the director of the Trauma Center in Monroeville. That's in Pennsylvania, nearby Murraysville, Pennsylvania, which is about 15 miles east of Pittsburgh. That's where this high school is. And as you heard, to bring you up to date, one suspect now under arrest, a male student. He was armed with a knife of some kind, 20 students stabbed. Jean Casares has been monitoring the situation from New York. She joins us now with more information. Hi, Jean.
Good morning. You know, what we're hearing, Carol, is that the stab wounds can come in various forms and fashion. There are lacerations, there are puncture wounds. We are yet to learn how deep these wounds are because, as we know, a knife is a deadly weapon. But the fact is, there are 20 students now that we are able to confirm that were injured in the stabbing this morning. They were flown by medical helicopter to facilities. No word yet on their condition, but they do range in age from 14 to 17 years old. And as you have just said, the alleged perpetrator of these crimes was a student at the high school. He is now being held in custody. And you know, Carol, a deadly weapon can come in any form or fashion, and a knife is definitely a deadly weapon. And once again, this is in Pennsylvania, a state that is very, very serious when it comes to attempted murder.
Well, authorities just told me, Dan Stevens just told me, that those injuries probably are non-life-threatening, which is very good news. Do we know any more about this student, about his age? Do you know any more about this high school, Franklin Regional High School in Murraysville, Pennsylvania?
You know, this is just coming into the newsroom, but we do know Regional High School, as you said, is outside of Pittsburgh, Murraysville, Pennsylvania. The fact that it is a student is interesting, that it's someone that was normally on that campus, someone normally that went into the school, obviously able to get that knife on. But I think that they're holding close to the vest more information about the student. He is in custody, and obviously this is the beginning of a very large legal proceeding.
Yeah, and this happened, what, about an hour ago? So this occurred right as school was going into session.
The first call of the incident was actually at 7:15 a.m., 15 minutes after the school doors opened, which is interesting. And so this alleged perpetrator was at school the moment it was opened. I mean, that shows a state of mind right there that will be interesting as the investigation continues.
All right, we have Dan Stevens back on the phone. He is the Public Information Officer for the Westmoreland County Police. Welcome back, Dan. Can you just bring our viewers up to date once again with the latest information you have coming out of Franklin Regional High School?
Okay, we're at Franklin Regional High School located in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, Westmoreland County. Currently, we received a call from the school resource at approximately 7:13 this morning that he had some type of an incident going on. When he came back on the radio, after he requested additional assistance, he advised we had a stabbing. When additional officers got on scene, they took the actor into custody, but before he was able to be taken into custody, approximately 20 students were injured. Of those 20 students, 4 of which had to be flown by medical helicopter to trauma centers throughout the region. Those students are at Allegheny General Hospital, Forbes Regional Hospital, UPMC East, and University of Pittsburgh Presby.
And, sir, how did the officers enter the school? Can you describe that for us?
Well, the school does have a resource officer, so he was in contact with arriving officers as they approached the scene to advise them which way he wanted them to come in. He is staged at the high school routinely every morning, and he goes to other schools throughout the district as the day goes on. But Franklin Regional has a school resource officer, so he directed the officers into different openings to actually corner the suspect.
And tell us how that went down. How did they corner this? They just surrounded him, and then did he give up easily?
I wasn't on scene. I can't give you that information. I don't have the tactical measures that they used.
I understand, sir. I'm just asking you questions, and just answer as much as you know. I really appreciate this. Tell us about this high school and this community.
It's a school district. Is a very large school district. It's in the western central part of Westmoreland County. It's a very nice community, normally quiet community, not a lot of law enforcement activity, but, schools have changed and the world has changed over the years, so these type of things happen. We're very fortunate with the Franklin Regional School District. They're very active on school response and school safety programs. We work very closely with them, with the Department of Public Safety and school district. We were just up here about 2 months ago working with them on their school plan. So they were, prepared for it. But, you can plan for these type of things, but you're never prepared for when these things actually occur.
I was just going to ask you, sadly, there have been so many incidents in school districts across the country with violence in our schools. Has your community taken any extra steps before this incident to prepare for such a thing in light of what's been happening in the country?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why I was saying Franklin Regional has done a lot with the Department of Public Safety to train and execute these types of incidents. And the principal or the superintendent at this school actually was principal at one of the other school districts in the county, and we were able to work with them in the past to make sure they were ready. So, again, you can plan for these things, you're just never prepared for them.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dan Stevens from the Westmoreland Police Department. He's the Public Information Officer. I got to take a break, but before I go, I just want to update our viewers once again. This incident went down just east of Pittsburgh in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, at Franklin Regional High School. At least 20 students were injured, and we believe they were injured. Most of them were stabbed or slashed by another student, allegedly armed with a knife. That student, a male, is now in police custody. We don't know his age or his name as of yet, but most of the injured were between 14 and 17 years old. 4 of the students injured needed surgery. They appear to be doing okay. Those are the initial reports. The others suffered non-life-threatening injuries. We'll be back with much more from Murraysville, Pennsylvania after this.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Yeah, we want to continue following our breaking news at this hour. 20 students have been injured in a high school stabbing in suburban Pittsburgh. It happened this morning at Franklin Regional High School in Murraysville, Pennsylvania. That's about 15 miles east of downtown Pittsburgh. Here's what we know so far. 20 students have been hurt. 4 of them have been flown to various hospitals. Investigators tell us a suspect is in custody. That suspect is a student. That suspect is male. Jean Casares is following this story for us. Tell us more, Jean.
Well, here's what we're learning. The students are being released to their parents right now. If their parents are not available, they are being held in a separate location. The school is in lockdown, but the victims range from 14 to 17 years old, and we are confirming 20 or at least 20 victims have been flown and taken to hospitals. 4, we understand, needed surgery. They are doing all right at this point, but I think it's too early in the game to say they are doing all right. Surgery is surgery, right? The one question is, who is this student that is being held? What is his age and why? What would be the motive to take a knife into school? 7:13, 7:15 this morning was when that first call came in, so this student was there right when the doors were opened of his high school in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and you know, students were gathering to go to class, so they were all in a big bunch in the hallway, right? I'm just trying to figure out one suspect with one knife, 20 students injured, although it's not clear that all of those injuries came from stab wounds, how he was able to injure so many.
That's right, because you know, when you look at a knife, you can have lacerations where you're just slashing someone, or you can penetrate someone with a knife. It appears as though it was an extremely violent attack, because 20 victims, that is quite a number of students. And for everybody, just to remind them, this is at Franklin Regional High School in Murrayville, Pennsylvania, which is near Pittsburgh. And you can see students there waiting for their parents to be picked up, also being held, and school buses in a row, in a line, just bringing students to school today.
It was interesting to me. I was talking to the public information officer from the Westmoreland County Police Department. He said that there was a school resource officer on the scene. He is the one that alerted authorities, and then police came. So he was in the school at the time.
Well, maybe that is luck, but obviously that helped the situation to have an official there that could take action quickly. I think that there are so many questions now, and we are, you know, they're saying at least 20 victims, so we are saying 20, but do we really know at this point? Obviously, the alleged perpetrator is apprehended, but I think we're early in the game. This is a case that's just unfolding, just developing.
So the school has been cleared of students, obviously. It's on lockdown, and now police are beginning their investigation inside, right?
Yes, this is a crime scene. This is a crime scene where they will have to investigate every single aspect. They will have to look at the forensic evidence. They will have to pinpoint the evidence, because this perpetrator will be charged, no question about it, and probably with numerous crimes, but they will have to link him in forensic ways to the crime scene, along with identification from his fellow students.
Yeah, we don't know the exact response time of police, but according to this public information officer, everything went according to plan, because sadly so many incidents of violence have happened in schools across the country that they were prepared for such a thing.
Prepared for such a thing, possibly with a gun, but what about a knife? You know, there are different types of deadly weapons, and I think people always focus on the gun, but the knife is a deadly weapon too, and maybe there is nothing life-threatening here. We can't truly confirm that if 4 students have just gotten out of surgery, but the fact is, attempted murder is a very serious charge and a very serious traumatic situation for all of these kids to be involved in.
Yeah, ages 14 through 17, the ages of those injured in this attack. And Jean Casares, stay there. I got to take a break. We'll be back with much more out of Murraysville, Pennsylvania.